1917. A film about two British soldiers, which are George McKay, starred as Will Schofield, and Dean Charles Chapman, starred as Tom Blake, who is going to have a very fun time to deliver a message to another regiment. Or at least that's what Google Gemini tells me. Either way, the film is set in World War One, which, well, if you don't know, you should probably open up a history book. But it is when Bosnian Serb decides to test if the Archduke of Austria's head is bulletproof. The result will shock you, and everyone was friends with everyone. So now we have World War One. And the main theme of World War One is that the warfare is slow as hell. You get to sit in a trench, which is essentially a pit that's really long to avoid enemy machine gun fire. But if you wanted to, let's say, attack, now that's a ridiculous idea, because the only way to attack it's called endless human waves. Now, the most intriguing part about the film is what Sam Mendes, the director, tried to do, which was try to film like the entire movie in like one take. Now, like the film wasn't actually in one take. They tried to just like separate any cuts with invisible cuts. So there's like 35 of them. There's like one which is like debated between whether it's an invisible cut or not, but we'll just say it's 35. And there are times where like it will cut and they'll just pretend like nothing ever happens and it keeps going. But the thing I found like most impressive is how they managed to move the camera and some of the scenes they managed to make. Like there's just like one scene near like the beginning of the film where Schofield and Blake they have to walk around like a massive pond of just muddy, shitty water. But instead of like moving the camera across the other side of the pond to film them walking on the other side, they decide to move the camera across the pond, so just above the water, and it's very impressive because like the water is like it's not disturbed, it's not moving, the camera isn't shaky, it's just a smooth straight line across the center of the pond, and like it's just very impressive. I'm guessing like they put it on like a crane and then managed to lower it above the water, then slowly move it across. Or I could be wrong. I couldn't find a reason online. So yeah, it's really impressive how they managed to move some of these camera scenes across like places you wouldn't expect them to be able to move the camera. The story's really simple. Like I said before, Blake and Schofield have to save a British regiment who was walking into a trap, which is really just a bunch of Germans ready to murder them, but they don't know it. And they add a bit of more flavor. Okay, Blake's brother is in this regiment, so it gives Blake and Schofield a bit more of a connection and reason to go on this mission, other than just you gotta save people. It's there's someone who like they have a family connection, well not they, but Blake have a family connection with, and it's all right. Okay, it's nothing spectacular. It's not just like a massive plot twist in the middle of the film, but overall, I think it's pretty well done. But yeah, the invisible cuts are well, they're pretty cleverly hidden. A lot of them. Of course, there's like the really simple ones where like oh the camera moves behind the rock and they can cut there and we don't see the main characters or any characters. And then like there's the of course some regular invisible cuts like the camera moves into a dark place and they probably just cut there to do something else. And then there's like but there's like a bunch of them like just like and like sometimes in random places you wouldn't even expect them, like near the beginning of the film there's two invisible cuts right next to each other within a 40-second time frame, and it's just soldiers walking in front of the camera and you literally can't see it. And it's not like like pointing out these invisible cuts are like gonna improve your filming experience anyways. It's just really clever what the editing team managed to do here. So like you're not gonna go like holy hell I just found an invisible cut, that really makes my day. But it's just like something that's just really shows off how well the editing team managed to make this film. So yeah, kudos to the editing team here, great job. The characters are nothing really special. They're paced pretty well. They start out looking like, kind of like the formal soldiers, like what you'd expect of like how a soldier would look in World War One in the trenches before they go over the top to rush the lines. Like something like the British government would have put out as like propaganda of brave soldiers fighting before the war. And but as the film progresses, there's like a ton of action. There's constant action. Bam, bam, bam. them. Like every scene, they have to like fight Germans, or have to a plane crashes on them, or they get lost, or they get buried, and they're gay. They get dirty, they get muddy, and they're gross. Like Schofield near the beginning puts his hand in like a gross dead body that looks like a fucking meme that you would find on Twitter, and it just really reflects how someone can start out as just a little person who's very formal, nothing too crazy, and then by the end of this war, they're just this absolutely traumatized soldier. Okay, well, and in the end, I don't want to spoil too much, even though I've already spoiled plenty in my opinion. But they go full circle. Like it pretty much ends up where they started, and all they've gained is plenty of trauma. They've of course accomplished the goals that they pretty much set up for them in the film. It's a pretty typical storyline, but they've gained way more trauma, and plenty of that to go around, and it's probably not worth to do what they do in exchange for trauma. And of course, this film is about World War I. The message is going to be something about war. Like I think the film's message is just to show how tense, fast-paced, and disorganized war can be, and how traumatic that makes people. Like how even survivors of the war will be traumatic after this absolutely horrendous experience. There is just pretty much constant actions with brief breaks, and they have to constantly stay alert. They have to get ready to be in a fight, like a one fight after another. They keep on going. And near the end, there are no spoilers, but I have to mention this. There is a scene where the officer, or like an officer, talks about how constantly orders are changing. Like one time they might tell them to retreat, and another they might tell them to advance. It's just constantly changing, and people can't keep up with this. So whether you die from it or you survive to see your comrades die and come out traumatized, it's just absolutely horrendous. Now, I do have to say, the film can go back on itself here because it can glorify war with how just epic and cinematic the scenes are. Because, like I said before, the cinematography and editing does really well. There's like smooth transitions, but like it paints the protagonists in the film as kind of like just the good guys, and the experience to be like you're saving plenty of people, but that's not really what war is, because those people wouldn't be in need of saving if we didn't have war in the first place. And they can glorify war with the scenes and how epic the storyline seems, when in reality war is just grueling. There's nothing good about it. There's no winners. There's no, and we're all losers here. Every single person who dies in war probably has a family that they are hoping to feed, someone that they need to help, and the wars often rack up tons of casualties, especially starting in the 20th century. World War I racked up 8 million military deaths. That's not including the civilian deaths. The Russians suffered 1.8 million casualties, the Germans suffered 1.6, and the French suffered 1.4. And that's not including other countries like the British, the Italians, the Ottomans, the Austro Hungarians, and any of the Commonwealth and overseas territories of said nations. And so it's just, it can definitely go back on itself and be a bit hypocritical with how it glorifies war, makes it seem like a thing that people can do to become heroic, when in reality it's just a grueling pace of death and destruction. Overall, I'd say 1917 is definitely a good film that you should watch if you just have free time and you're interested in war movies or just watching something full of action. I don't see myself personally just watching this repeatedly. It's not something I feel like you can rewatch for like just entertainment purposes. You can definitely rewatch it to see like the one cut to full film kind of style that Sam Mendes does here, and but you can definitely have a good time watching it. And Sam Mendes and his team, at least cinematography, I don't know about the writing part, but with the editing team and the camera crew here, they definitely knocked it out of the park with this one. That does it really well. Writing is nothing special in my opinion. Something that it's just kind of like a reverse Private Ryan. there's many people call it that. Two soldiers save 1600. It's pretty simple. And it's just a classic war movie that if you wanted to watch it, you definitely should. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.